Hello, fifth graders. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd, and today we will be reviewing and continuing our extended read work from last week. So the first thing we need to do is to review the cause and the problem, as well as some key events from part 1 of the story. Last week you were expected to read paragraphs 1 through 9 of your extended read. We will read paragraph 10 and I will model and annotate in order to determine key details and main idea. And I am going to show you how to use that highlighting tool so that your changes will be saved and your teacher will be able to see your changes. A lot of us have been noticing that students are not underlining key details in the text. We want to be able to log into Benchmark and see that you have done that as part of your must-do work. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. Your must-dos for today are to read or listen to paragraphs 10 through 15 in the pagoda on the hill of the Imperial Springs. You will be underlining key details today. And then afterwards, you need to review those key events and write a summary of paragraphs 10 through 15. Your may-dos are to read your assigned leveled readers. Okay, so I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to bring up your level or your Unit 8 reader. And I'm going to have you notice that it says create a customization and it'll come up with a date and a time. You want to hit yes to this customization because if you don't, then it will not save your work. So I'm going to hit yes, and you'll notice that it goes into edit mode. So edit mode is the only way that your changes will be saved if you are highlighting key details. So I'm going to fast forward to the story that we're reading, and we will get started. So I want to highlight these two important words, problem and cause, mainly because these are words that we are specifically honing in on, and we need to identify what that problem is and what the cause is. So let's backtrack into the paragraph a little further and see what it says. So it says, there was no water and the people were all in the greatest alarm. The prince at once called his counselors together to devise some means of remedying this disaster and causing the water to return to the wells and springs. So that is the problem. The problem is that there's no water for people to drink, and this is causing them to not be able to survive. Up here where it says cause, we need to dive into what was the cause of this problem. So it says, it is necessary to explain the cause of this scarcity of water. There was a dragon's cave outside the east gate of the city. The place was called Thunderclap Mountain. Now, very few people went there, and none had spoken of the dragon, as the dragon had not been seen for myriads of years. Still, it was well known that he lived there. Everyone believed the cave was the home of the dragon, and the dragon was somehow responsible for the drought. That's important to understand. What could have made the dragon angry? At last, the answer was revealed. In digging out the earth to build a wall for the new city, some workmen had broken into this dragon's cave. They thought little of the consequences that would result. Okay, so say I'm done highlighting important key details in the text and I am ready to move on to the next page. You have to be sure that you hit this button up here at the top that has the little cloud and the arrow on it. And it says, if you hover over it, it says save current. You need to make sure that you click that and that you see this icon pop up that says changes saved. Okay, now that I've done that, I can put the toolbar away and now I can change to the next page. Okay, the other must-do you had the other day was to identify some key details in the part of the story called The Prince's Dream. So that's what we're going to do now. So it says, the two dragons then transformed themselves into an old man and an old woman. Okay, so they transformed themselves into an old man and an old woman. The prince, who was asleep, and it appeared to him in a dream. Okay, so clearly he's dreaming and they're coming to him in his dream. Kneeling before him, they cried, "O Lord of 1,000 years, we have come before you to beg leave to retire from this place and to beseech you out of your great bounty to give us permission to take these 2 baskets of water with us." Okay, so that's what they're requesting. The prince readily assented, which basically means he basically said, okay, sure, go ahead. Little dreaming of the danger he was incurring, so he didn't really know what he was doing at the time. The dragons were highly delighted. They immediately hastened out of his presence, which is a fancy way of saying that they ran away. They filled the baskets with all the water there was in Peking. Finally, they carried the baskets of water off with them. Okay, make sure that if you do any highlighting on the page that you want your teacher to see, you hit Save Current. And get rid of the toolbar and then turn the page. When the prince awoke, he paid no attention to his dream till he heard the report of the scarcity of water. Then, reflecting on the singularity of his dream, he thought there might be some hidden meaning in it. He therefore had recourse to study his dream again. So he's basically like, oh man, I remember I had that dream. What was that all about? Maybe it was trying to tell me something important. Okay, so he remembers that it had some hidden meaning. He therefore had recourse to study, and he was thinking, I need to go back and revisit that dream. He discovered that his dream visitors had been dragons, right? Dragons are an important key player in this culture for being attributed to water, who had taken the waters of Peking away with them in their magical baskets. His dream, however, contained directions for the recovery of the water, right? So in his dream, he realized that there were directions for how to get the water back. So at once he prepared to follow them. Okay, so that's also pretty important. All right. So you can always come back and keep editing if you haven't finished the page. Today you're picking up right here at paragraph 10, and I'm going to read it and model how to underline key details. So here we go. The pursuit of the dragons. In haste, which means in a hurry, the prince donned his armor, meaning he got dressed in his armor. Then he mounted his black steed. Next, spear in hand, he dashed out of the west gate of the city. He pressed on his horse, which went swift as the wind. He did not slacken speed, which means he didn't slow down, till he came up with the water-stealing dragons. The 2 still retained the forms in which they had appeared to him in his dream, which basically means they still appeared to him as an old woman and an old man. They had not transformed back into dragons. On a cart were 2 identical baskets he had seen, and in front of the cart, dragging it, was the old woman, and pushing it from behind was the old man. Okay, so it's important to understand that the prince got dressed in his armor, he left, right? He dashed out the west gate, and he runs into his, his enemies, so to speak. And this is an interesting thing because we didn't see this in his dream, the fact that there was a cart and the old woman was dragging it and the old man was pushing it from behind. All right, so those are the key details in this first paragraph. Make sure that you're not underlining any more of the text than you absolutely have to. You can either do just keywords or key phrases. Your highlighting marks are meant to be helpful for you so that you can use them later on to write a summary. So if you actually highlight too much, it's not going to be able to help you when you have to write that summary. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation, and I'm just going to go over the must-dos one more time with you. So when you press the end button on this, you're going to go ahead and read or listen to 10 through 15. You're going to underline key details, and you're going to write your summary at the end. All right, we'll see you at 10:40. Make sure you ask us if you have any questions.